Welcome back, everybody. Give me a minute to share this on my Facebook, and I'm gonna give you a minute to do the same. Go ahead and tweet this to your Twitter followers or whatever, and put it on your Facebook wall so we can begin, and we can let everybody know that we about to begin, so that everybody who didn't get the notification, they can get it this way. So before we begin, I'm gonna just tweet this right quick, and shout out to everybody for joining us here today. We're gonna cover a lot of ground, and we're gonna learn a lot of stuff about the human story, flat earth, and a lot more. We also gonna me and the brother Subtle Infinity decided to do this today because lately there's been a little tension in the community, and it's all because we're not always going to agree. It's going to always be differences. So I got the brother here today, and we're going to address those differences respectfully, and we're going to be the great teachers that we are, and actions speak louder than words. So we here today to lead by example and to give you guys a good bit of information, a good show today. So shout out to everybody. Flat power. Let me unmute us here. Hey, my brother Subtle, let's do it. So what we'll do here is just go ahead and unmute your mic, and I guess how we'll start this off is, since I'm the host of the show and I'm normally always doing the talking, what we'll do here is I'm gonna mute my mic, and I'm gonna let everyone know who you are, brother. Everyone knows Subtle Infinity, no need for introduction, but nevertheless, I'm gonna let my brother introduce himself, and he's gonna let you know what brings us here today, and we both will be able to go back and forth, and we'll gain clarity, and this is gonna be very respectful, and we're gonna cover a lot of ground, like I said. So let me shut up. Welcome to the show, my brother, and I'm glad that you did this with me. I'm gonna go ahead and mute my mic.
Thank you, bro. Peace and greetings to everybody. I'm just a regular guy who makes YouTube videos. I write. I've had a lot of experiences dealing with questioning my reality on many levels, from the soul, the mind, to the body. Having been in the military for 7 years, had a break-in service, had a hard hit, went back in, got out, got into the Occupy protests, barreled through the New Age, and figured out all the intricacies of that world and how that's being used against the people as a whole. Barreled through protesting the government and all that other stuff with Occupy protests, and seeing how that's being used against people, along with all the other agendas that are out there. And I was on Facebook writing a bunch, and I started to realize how Facebook was filtering and censoring a lot of content. So I decided to cut Facebook and just work on my speaking abilities from coming from a writing background, and turn it into a video format, which started in like 2012, really. But I didn't really like the videos that were being put out because it didn't reflect who I was. And then in 2013, I just started to make YouTube videos up until today. Came into the flat earth information about 2 years ago, and continue to hold my ground from every experience that I've been through ever since then. And here we are today.
And that's what's up. Me and you, we first came into this thing not too long ago.
You there, bro?
Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, Subtle. I was talking to them, and I got OBS open. I forget that I got to unmute my mic in the Hangout for you to hear me. So, yeah, let me just say that again. Yeah, what you saying is a great introduction, and it's kind of remind me of how I came into it. And the people know me and you've been doing a lot of groundwork in the flat earth community. Both of us got our own lanes, and often people lanes can cross. And we met each other, and I think we're a damn good dynamic duo. But what I'm gonna say is, there's gonna always be differences. Now, me and you collabed a lot in the past. You, like many other people, my brother, have great criticism that you can offer to me. Now, sometimes when people offer their criticism, we don't like the way they offer it. We say, well, damn, sound like the brother just hating on me or being jealous. I'm telling everybody out there right now, I don't think for 1 minute that you that type of brother. Before you even met me, you was doing your thing on your channel and could care less about a brother Sanchez. And for the record, so everybody know, I reached out to this brother first because I reach out to a lot of people. I don't think, and this is another subject, but I don't think we should all stay in our little corners on our channel and not reaching out to each other. All of us ain't gonna be able to get in the car and do a meetup, but damn it, we can always meet up on each other's channels and host and hang out on each other's channels. So I love that, you know, and I'm gonna collab with more people in the future. But you know, when we collab as men, we're gonna have differences. So we here today, we're gonna talk about some of those differences, but in a way that we can make each other better from them. Because you ain't the only one that has a lot to tell me on what I can do to batter this channel. And you sent me an email and it made me mad, but I got it before. Many people told me, hey, brother Sanchez, I like it better how you were in the old days, or this or that, or you're changed, or you don't deal with certain subjects. I'm open to hear all of this, but I just don't like the beef and the drama. So again, thank you for coming to the panel to end that. And yeah, we can get into now some of those things that brought us here. Now, I just want to say something too. The last time you were here, my brother, it didn't go too well. You ended up leaving the panel. I felt like you were cutting me off when you asked me about the Francis Cress Welsing books. Since you've left the panel, I've been online Googling to get these titles, and I will be reading these books. I have many books, some of which I know you haven't read, and I know you got some I haven't read. But I want to talk about all of this. What exactly can happen for not only me, but for, let's say, all of the big flat earth channels in your mind that we can do as we advance forward. And I also want you to deal with me, because that's why we're here today. I want to take your criticism, my brother.
Okay. Well, my main thing is information. I'm not too much on, I'm not concerned about being right or being wrong. I welcome being called out when I'm wrong. And I welcome the build on, you know, other people being right from their perspectives, and and me being wrong from my perspective. Everything is all a learning process. And in reference to the last talk, it actually started before I even came on the panel, where I automatically got hit with something I never got hit before from you, which was this how I say it, this pretty much extreme disrespect that I would never put on you when I was in the chat room. And that was before I came on. This was right after you had that live stream with Patricia. And I felt some kind of like defensiveness that was there because of how I addressed Patricia and Mark and so on and so forth. And there was kind of like this buildup to where I didn't really think it was going to be taken to this whole boxed in sort of scenario to where I was called a dumbass. Like, I was like, what the fuck? That was like the first thing in the chat when I brought up white privilege and white supremacy, and it was just automatically shut down. And I kind of like was taken back. And that's when I was thrown in this label box to where I was like labeled by you as like pro-black, part of the black conscious community, believing in the out of Africa theory, called a dumbass, believing in reparations, and that whole like live stream atmosphere of putting people in body bags was that's not how I roll. I don't get down like that. I'm not trying to, you know, engage in that sort of thing. I'm not gonna call you a dumbass no matter how much you think differently than me. I'm just gonna say how I believe, and then, you know, go from there. So my thing was, I think we have differences in understanding where we come from in how we see stuff like white supremacy and white privilege, but in the foundation of both of our understandings, I really think that we see things on the same level. But since I come from a different outlook on how I'm sharing my information, it kind of conflicts with possibly your outlook and definitely people's outlook like Mark and Patricia. And I think you kind of fit in between there, between the three of our kind of like information streams. So once I saw that, and once I heard that sentiment being like cast upon me, to where I was, you know, labeled, just because I reference white supremacy and so on and so forth, I was labeled as pro-black, black conscious community. I believe in all this. I don't believe in the out of Africa theory. I'm not part of the black conscious community. I'm not pro-black and all that stuff. I don't think about reparations. I don't believe in the slave ships program and all that stuff. But those very topics were used against me on a live stream when I was there and when I wasn't there, and like put in these boxes with all these other people to make it seem, I don't know, whatever it was, but I didn't want to be a part of that. So I was just like, you know, I'm out of here. And I wanted to, the reason why I mentioned those books, specifically The Miseducation of the Negro and Dr. Frances Cress Welsing's The ISIS Papers, is because when I referenced the white supremacy agenda and the white privilege psychology, those two books really set the platform to understanding, understanding, and overstanding the psychology of such alchemy that has been cast upon not only so-called black people, but people across the earth that have been colonized across the earth. And Dr. Frances Cress Welsing has shared, in my opinion, the most thought through and scientific evidence that states the psychological effects on not just melanated people, but all people. So when I reference like stuff like white supremacy and white privilege, that's where I'm coming from, and that's what I wanted to expand upon. It wasn't like to come down on you or to say, you know, I read these books and, you know, you should read these books. No, I'm not part of that, you know, black conscious crew that, you know, carries around books and all that other stuff. I'm about the information. So I'll leave it there. I don't want to get too long-winded, but I'll leave it there and let you.
Yeah, I'm glad we clearing this up, but I will say this: what got to me on that last panel was just like now it was already tense, like you said, but I had to let you speak when it was my turn to speak. Because when you brought up the books, you cut me off and you kept raising your voice, brother, about the books, and I admitted that I didn't read them. But I'm gonna tell you this: I see now why you're so passionate about the books. I see why you cut me off to say that, because that would have let me know exactly which perspective you coming from when you mention white supremacy. So yeah, it's not cool to cut people off, but I do say it's justified in that case. We're gonna make this one a respectful discussion. But what I'm gonna say is I love the teachings of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, just like I love the teachings of many other teachers. I agree with a hell of a lot of what they teach, and very little I disagree with. But I'll say this: there is a psychology of what's going on. There is a targeted agenda to do specific things to what we would call the quote-unquote black race. But what my argument is never denying that, and I think a lot of people think that I deny that. I agree with the concept of white supremacy and the targeting of specific things going on to specifically the quote unquote black race. But I'm not one way about it. You see, I also see black supremacy, and I also see a specific thing being targeted to the white race. You show me a race, I can show you a specific agenda to that race that the world powers are doing specifically to that race. Here in America, they're using the Mexicans as the new slave. They're using them as the labor force specifically. They're not doing this to nobody else. They're using blacks for fratricide, genocide, guinea pig experiments. You know, a lot of things they're doing to blacks is universal. They're doing it to a lot of more people. But there are a lot of things they're doing to us that's specifically to us. And there's a lot of, basically what I'm saying, specific things that the government do to specific groups of people, because at the top of that pyramid is a group of people of all colors that's looking at each race like an experiment. They study each one of us. They know how to pair food the right way for it to appeal to the Chinese man. They know what to put on the TV to make it appeal to specifically the black man. These people are chess players. See, in a nutshell, what I want to say is they use these differences that the Most High made against us all. They are the ones who divided and conquered humanity based on these surface features. It was never humanity. It was never Mother Nature. Mother Nature created us all diverse. All of these shades of human diverse. And man came along and divided us up based on that diversity. And he told us Mother Nature did it. How did he do it? By saying, hey, Mother Nature created the black ones first. Mother Nature created the green ones first. He played a kindergarten trick on us with the lion leader who came first. But when you study our ancestors' true cosmology and history, what no one in the black conscious community is doing, what no other flat earthers are doing besides myself. And I say that with great pride. And this is not no shot at Subtle or nobody, but I can honestly say that, and that brother will agree. No one is teaching the real North Pole origin story that the Kemetic cosmology has, that the syncretic cosmologies of the ancient past, which all shared the flat earth truth, had. What came along with that cosmology was a universal origin story. The Masonic Brotherhood used that origin story, and they have a deity called a great architect that unites their brotherhood of all colors of men based on that one origin story that says all humans was created at the same time at the same place. See, the concept of races come from a mental construct of matrix that they built in our minds, just like the heliocentric universe. The whole concept of races was to get us running fast, trying to beat one another based on surface differences. So you'll hear all of the races based on their program and argue about who came first, and that's what a race is about, first place. But when you understand the true cosmology, you will see we running for nothing. There is no races. Why the hell are we running? We can stop, be still, and understand the truth where we are and quit running on the hamster wheel. So what I'm saying to black people in general, when you come into flat earth, it's deeper than your personal history. When Masons sit together in the lodge, they don't come together discussing personal beliefs and personal history. They come together discussing universal plans of action and doctrines that keep their brotherhood tightly knitted with unity while keeping us divided. Because each Mason serves an agenda in this society to keep the Hegelian dialectic going. The civil rights movement was started by alphas. AFIAs, which is members of the Boule. The Black Caucus, Congressional Black Caucus, is the people behind most of this media programming and the Roots movies and all of this Django Unchained, and the Boule's behind a lot of this programming that keeps us talking about what happened in the past that divided us instead of what can happen in the future to unite us against the powers, and that's my whole stance. So we can build on both of these stances, and maybe we can get clarity on them. And I'm gonna fall back with that.
Okay, so yeah, I think this is kind of where we differ in our opinions or our beliefs. But first, before I get into that, the reason why I was cutting you off in the last video is because I really don't like that whole live stream atmosphere, and I was also being cut off and ganged up on by everybody on the panel because they kind of follow your lead when you have like a response. And that's why I knew I was going to get off the panel. So I was just like, you know what, I'm going to just say my last words and just be up out of here. But I wouldn't normally do that. But that's exactly why I don't get on those panels, is because I would rather sit here with you and just, or anybody really, and just kind of expand upon whatever it is that we're talking about. Now, to go even further into, or before I get into that, to give an example of how I see that perspective of, there's kind of like how I see it, it's kind of an extreme perspective, but it gets kind of dangerous when you get into that, like, that building up of, you know, one person says one thing and then another person agrees with it, and then another person agrees, and then everybody, and then gangs up on somebody. A good example of this in that very video was when, and this is no disrespect to Sassy, but Sassy gave her opinion on the ISIS papers and basically just said, you know, the ISIS papers was just about some, you know, why are they always talking about some gay stuff, you know, talking about the penis and balls and all that other stuff. And I didn't really hear that until like the other night, because I went back and revisited that video, and everybody was kind of laughing about that and was like, oh yeah, they always are talking about some gay shit. And I was just like, wait a second. And I saw you agreeing with it too and clapping, and I was like, man, this is really, in my opinion, is very dangerous, because that's not at all what Dr. Frances Cress Welsing was talking about in that book. In fact, it's really a simplistic kind of observation to come at it from that perspective. What she was really addressing, and this segues into the whole origin story stuff, is what she was addressing in those studies, and what she was talking about was really at the heart of it was white genetic annihilation, and white supremacy and white privilege are all protectors of white genetic annihilation. The colonial program was part, and this is not to say, you know, white people are bad, or so-called white people are bad. No, this is just a statement of her scientific studies and facts, that it involves the genetic observation that if a black person has sex with a white person, you will have a brown or black baby. This was understood and is understood by many a people. This is not to say that this is the only part of the so-called powers that be, but it is a definite part of the storyline and a definite part of the psychology that every single individual on this earth plane is experiencing today when they watch Hollywood, when they watch TV, when they go to the public education system, when they get into the job industry, when you know, they see, you know, these commercials and all this other stuff. And this is not to come from a victimized perspective. This is to come from a scientific observation and a psychological observation that states that centuries of mind control conditioning will create things that will affect certain people some way and other people another way. One way is to create white privilege, where people have this privileged mentality. And since all this Trump stuff, I'll give you some personal observations. I've been getting I'm in Arizona right now. I've been getting some serious looks from, more so than usual, because this is a Republican state, but I'm getting some hardcore looks from people being real bold about how they're speaking around me, trying to trigger some stuff and look at me at a certain way because of this whole Trump mentality. And they have that privilege because they have the lack of information of what's really going on here. They don't know about the pre-Columbian history. They don't know about, you know, the psychology behind the so-called powers that be. So they just act instinctively or emotionally towards whoever it is in their moment based upon what they've been conditioned by the mainstream media and the so-called powers that be. The race game is just a checkers game. What I'm addressing when I'm talking about the entire sphere of the flat earth or the heliocentric deception, the race deception, or the race agenda, the admiralty law system, the fiat currency system, all these systems lead back to the so-called powers that be. And white genetic annihilation is one of the pieces on the board that have and is being used to keep people separate and keep people fighting themselves and keep people from going to the depths of challenging the so-called powers that be. So this is one of the main gushing wounds that I see that's going on, that not only affects people individually, but also affects people collectively, that each person could actually start to change and shift if the information was known and understood. And Dr. Francis Cress Welsing is one of the main straight to the point individuals that comes from a scientific perspective explaining how important this is and how it affects us. Now, going back into white genetic annihilation, that's not my opinion. That's not my belief. It's a scientific fact that if you have a black and a white person, you're going to have a brown or a black baby. So this was understood and this was used when, you know, the American slavery was going on, and when the colonizers were traveling across the world and started to see that there were melanated people already across the world. There were already so-called black and brown people in the Americas before Christopher Columbus moved anywhere. So, and another point is, like, how powerful will it be for people to really acknowledge and understand that information naturally, to realize that, you know, not only have we been lied to about the heliocentric agenda, but we've been lied to that our relationship with the land, the majority of so-called African Americans, we're not African American. The majority, the 90th percentile, the majority of melanated people in the Americas were already here. And this is not to state this whole like black superiority thing and you know, just because the genetics, or that's not to state this. This is just to make an observation, a scientific observation, and put it on the board and see that, yes, there will be people that will try to defend that. And in fact, the proof of that is that you have the KKK and you have the so-called white nationalists that actually state this. This is why they say they are the supreme race, because they have to overcompensate and do all this other stuff. There is no, in my opinion, there is no equivalence to black supremacy and white supremacy. All that shit is checkers. That's all in the game of you not understanding your soul perspective. That's not to say that there isn't an actual reality exists where white supremacy, white privilege, white nationalism, the KKK does exist and has existed for some time now. Now, I'll end on this. All those things exist, and I share that information to help people clear it instead of just washing it over and covering it up with this definition that, you know, we're all humans and we need to just get over it. I don't think anything is going to be done if we just say, oh, you know, we're all just humans. We came from the North Pole and everything is just going to be better if we just, you know, come from a human perspective and move on. How I see it is that once people, not only white people or so-called white people or so-called black people, but all people start to understand the actual alchemy that has been inflicted on the entire human race, that includes stuff like white supremacy, the KKK, the maritime admiralty law, the fiat currency system, all this stuff exists. Like this is like the slaves were actual currency. Just like today, the slaves of today, everybody, melanated or white people, so-called white people, whoever else, you are the currency of this so-called powers that be system. Now, does that take away from the reality that, you know, white supremacy has existed and still exists today in some kind of way? And no, It's just another expansion of what already was. And what I'm saying is that once we start to understand, understand, and overstand the actual foundations of stuff like the fiat currency system, of the maritime admiralty system, of the race agenda of today, going back to one of Dr. Francis Cress Welsing's observation, which is the fear of white genetic annihilation. Once people are truly knowledgeable about how this system works, then actual change will start to happen for the better, because you can't only create a better sort of mentality through, you know, we're all human. That's a creative mentality. It's true in many ways. That's what we need to focus on to empower ourselves from a creative observation. At the same time, you are also balanced with the potential energy of destruction, creative and destructive energy. And if we do not destroy the destructive energy of the history that has led up to today, we will doom ourselves to repeating that history because we did not do the work that actually heals the wounds that led up today. We just put human perspective band-aids on this and didn't really do anything about it. So that's where I'm coming from, and I'll end it. I'll really end it on this point. I don't really have any proof of, like, I don't have the conviction that you have from the North Pole origin story. I don't have that. I don't have that like belief in my reality. I understand where you're coming from, but and it makes a lot of sense in many ways. But for actual forward progress in movement towards healing, I focus more on the realities that are grounded in our everyday lifestyle, which you can even watch on the mainstream media and see Trump with all this white nationalist stuff, that needs to really understand the origins of racism, the real stuff, the real stuff, and then move on into like where we possibly originated from and so on and so forth, and not go into any beliefs of, you know, that out of Africa and all that other stuff. So that's where I'm
okay. No doubt. So yeah, let me just, you made so many points, man. I got a book written with all of them. I'm gonna try to be a little brief, but it's gonna take me a while because it took you a while to make them all the points. I think you're missing my whole point, and I think what's going on, Subtle, is, see, you again, your foundation is off the writings of Francis Cress Welsing. My foundation is off a universal medley of all of these teachers, and I don't look at TV at all. I swear to God, I can't tell you nothing what Trump doing. I'm not steered by the media. When I look up, I see some white people who sick and tired of being sprayed with chemtrails. I see some white people who tired of having their children vaccinated. See some black people who feel the same way. And I also see some rich black and white people who rich as hell. They at the top working together, but they making movies and investing money on media shit that's keeping us divided. So what I'm saying... So what I'm saying is this, we're falling to a Hegelian dialectic. You said you're not focusing on the North Pole story. To me, that's the holy grail of flat earth. See, the most important thing about flat earth is not because I'm walking on a flat ground and yeah, my ancestors' cosmology was right. And yeah, I found out the earth flat. Now let's talk about black history. No, I'm not moving backwards with this knowledge. This knowledge thrusted me forward in my evolution. It made me see that how all of us are being played no matter what color you are. You said some things, I'm going to touch on them. You said that Sassy's opinion on the panel regarding Cress Welsing's book was disrespectful. She said something about penises and all of that. Well, we get that a lot. When you tell anybody from the black conscious community, which Francis Cress Welsing was from, we understand that the black conscious community as a whole speak a lot about sexual organs. They teach us that the ankh itself is sexual. When I first came into the black conscious community, everything they taught me was sexual. When I saw the Washington Monument, the obelisk, they said it's a penis to me. When I saw the Ankh, they said it's some sexual. And they said that that was it. But when I came into flat earth, I found out that the sexual organ was also tied in a cosmological origin. What do I mean? That the woman's uterus, the woman's biological makeup is identical to the cosmos. So I've decoded the teachings of our ancient ancestors, and I'm coming from a spiritual standpoint, not a political one. I'm not coming from a historical standpoint, Sutter. You are, and that's where we're bumping heads. I don't deal with history. I deal with her story. I reach back beyond history to a time where things were right on the earth, and I try to get us back there. But there's a lot of people, when I look up, they can only reach back to when their people was wrong or my people was wrong, and I find out that's how they're creating the matrix. You mentioned something about the true origin of racism, and we speak about white genetics. We got to talk about albinism when we talk about this, because with everything you're teaching, I understand these teachings. I can do a whole lecture on them. In fact, I did. I can tell you about the rhesus monkey blood factor. I can get just as scientific as Dr. Francis Cress Wilson did, because I never followed a teacher. I always took a teacher's teachings and expounded upon them. That's why when I learned about the Dogon Kananga, I didn't just say they right, it mean we from Sirius and stop there. I said, no, I'm a flat earther. I'm going to do more research on this symbol, and I find out it has nothing to do with Sirius, but that it was actually European scholars who came up with the Sirius deception. They went over there talking to the Dogon and came back telling us a lie about what they said. It's Europeans that's controlling history, but it's black people that's controlling black history. And these two factors together is what create a fucked up America, what we see today, where don't nobody know their true origins, but everybody know who they hate. Everybody can tell you who their enemy is and who owe me an apology and who did something wrong with me during the time I wasn't even fucking born. You know, Jews can come make their argument about Hitler. I wasn't born. They can say, man, I felt like people should console with my people because of this. You know, if you look in the Bible, they got a chosen people in the Bible that's been pulling this tactic for thousands of years. They said we God's chosen people. We were captive in Egypt and we were wrong. So now the whole world got to worship us because we the Jews and we was wrong. And now basically the nature owe us reparations. So you got entire synagogues dedicated to historical events that none of us was around to prove. We're paying the price of historical events that none of us partook in. There's white people out there right now who are victims of white supremacy. Let me repeat that. There's white people out there right now who are not benefiting from white supremacy. They are victims of it, just like a black person.
We totally agree on that.
And so now, and listen, I'm not making an argument. I'm just speaking from passion. We both are doing it. Now, you went quite a while. I'm gonna wrap this up real quick. I know you ready to respond. And thank you again for coming and doing this respectful, because I'm pretty sure the people can hear both sides and make their own mind up. Now, when you talk about this North Pole story, I hope you know that this is a fact. This is a fact that there's a phenomena at the North Pole where all compasses is pointing there. There's something magnetic there. We can start speculating on what it is, but we know it's something magical there. We know it's something that every nation on this earth got a treaty preventing us to go and explore there. Now, that ought to make you scratch your head, ladies and gentlemen. You know why? Because the people, the powers that be, they tell us about black history. That, let me tell you, everything in Francis Cress Wilson's book, and I haven't even read it, I guarantee you I can find everything in her book in other places too. Not to discredit her book, rest in peace. She was a great teacher and a beautiful woman. I shared many of her videos. When she died, I did a tribute on my Facebook to her. I was one of the few. But what I will say is this: I'm about not worshiping teachers, but taking their work, their foundation, and building a house on it. Dr. Deborah Blair ain't here today to hear this flat earth truth. But if he was, he would change his mind and take a lot of his teachings and evolve them based on the young ones that's doing the new research today. So it's about the young generation working with the old, not worshiping the old generation. We could take a lot of what they done and build on it because they laid the groundwork. But I think flat earth truth takes us into a whole nother area. And you mentioned about the North Pole, why it's so important. It kills the argument. Now, it depends on how far back you want to go, because some of us go back far enough to stroke our ego. I go back far enough with my history, or her story in my case, because most folks only go back to the beginning of history. I go back to the beginning of her story, meaning I don't look at the history that was given to us by the powers that be and let that shape my reality. I look at the ancient cosmological history that's tied into the mythology of the cosmos. And I see that all of the ancients, no matter what color they was, were they at one point on the earth, they all had the same thing. We call it syncretism today. You go around the world, you see all of these people were on the same page. They were united, and there was something that happened on the earth that split the masses up. So there's more poor people than anything on the earth. And those poor people make up every shade, just like the rich, who's a small number. So white people never done it alone. That's why I don't have nothing against acknowledging white supremacy, but I acknowledge rainbow supremacy, where white people only make up a few people on the earth according to Black Conscious Community. So how can these few people rule over 9 billion people? Impossible. There's always been a collective effort of a rainbow shade of men, and it's not about races. They got us concerned with the races. I always say they got us divided by black and white while they united by green. So that's my message, and I'm gonna keep teaching that message, and I think it's the most important message on earth right now because it's not being taught. I can go hear black history from anywhere. I can go hear about melanin from anywhere. Everybody in the Black Conscious Community can teach you how a black man can have an orgasm inside of a white woman and create a black baby. But they can't tell you how to clean up the ghetto. They can't tell you how to unite with the trailer park white man down the street for them so we all can get these chemtrails from above our children's head. But they can tell you how they can skeet up in a white woman and make a black baby. I heard that a million times. I don't want to hear these stories no more about melanin. I don't want to hear any more talk about how black folks in superior or how white folks is superior. I want to hear how we all superior. I no longer subscribe to any dialogue that teaches me how we're different and point out the diversity as far as, well, black people can do this and white people can't. Well, white people can do this and black people can't. I don't care what makes us different anymore. I'm only focused on what unites us at this time, and a lot of people don't like that. I focus on what divided us my whole life. When I cut the TV on, you just said it. You just said it yourself. If you cut on the TV, you can see this shit. They showing it to you for a reason. They're not showing you flat earth on TV. They're not telling you how we all the same on TV, how we all brothers and sisters created by one creator on TV. But they got everybody, you know, caught up in this race illusion. So I'm going to fall back. I'm going to let you build on that because that's the passion of Brother Sanchez.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start off on the last thing. Like I said, we agree like on 90% of our stuff. What I have a problem with is the way you say things sometimes has an implication on me or some of the other people, whoever you're talking to a lot of the times. But I've known when you speak, you have this implication that like implies that I think or I'm a certain way. Like I am not only following the teachings of anybody, really. I take information. That's why I started off this whole talk with it's about the information. I take this information and I put it up on the board and I look at how all of it fits within the bigger storyline, and I see the most vibrant things from my perspective, and then I bring that to the surface. So in reference to like the TV, like you were saying, like I'm not condoning watching TV. I'm not saying look at any of that stuff. I am saying that it is very important to understand our history outside of the deception that has been cast upon the masses. And it's also my opinion that it's also very important to understand what's happening to our brothers and sisters who still are watching that TV, who still are being subjected to those mind control programs, and also to be very well aware of how these so-called powers that be system is attempting to evolve the slave mentality and the enslavement program, and utilizing the television and utilizing the public education system, and even Black conscious communities, and especially the New Age communities, utilizing these outlets to usher in this next slave agenda is very important, in my opinion. And that very much so does you very much so need to understand history from a 360-degree perspective, and not really kind of just like push it aside and say, well, this is my opinion now. We can't just really push it aside and say, well, since I understand her story, then history doesn't really matter. Well, if you just, that's no different than jumping from one side to the other side and expecting things to be different. No, it's just one other imbalance. And one of the main reasons why I'm saying it's really important to pay attention to the healing of the racist program and the supremacy program is not to fall into or play into the TV game. It's to heal these wounds. So all of the people, not just the so-called Black people that are suffering from racism, but like you said, and I agree with you, all people are very much so being subjected to the downfalls of or the side effects to white supremacy, racism, and so forth. I understand that. I see that. What I'm saying is that in order for true healing and movement to take place, we have to go to the depths and understand where this stuff came from. And a lot of this stuff comes from through history, not only from understanding, like you were saying, her story. And in order for people to drop the guns, like you say in a lot of your previous videos, we fight ourselves. You know, we're the ones, you know, shooting ourselves and, you know, selling our brothers and sisters drugs and doing all the shit that's in the inner cities. But if we don't understand the so-called powers that be system that installs the drugs in the system, this is not a color. This is beyond a color. That installed the drugs that flew the Colombian cocaine into East Oakland and LA and East LA and, you know, all over New York and everywhere, Chicago, and the guns all over the place. If we don't understand and address the foundation, which is in the history books, in our very recent history, then we will be very well unaware of how this alchemy that's being used against not only so-called black people, but everybody will be unaware of how they will be making their chess moves, because we have, instead of being subjected to the checker game of a destructive mentality of, well, you know, racism from a TV perspective, now we are in the checker game of, well, it's only about, you know, positive her story perspectives. This is where we differ, and this is where I don't really agree with the whole North Pole, the North Pole origin stories, because I don't have any proof of that. Like, just like you said, there's definitely a phenomenon that's happening at the North Pole. Just because there's a phenomenon that's happening at the North Pole doesn't automatically equate to human origin stories. That's where I'm coming from.
Hey,
so I leave that there to the side.
You mind
and
if
I focus on what has actually happened and is happening on the streets right now. So that I only got a couple more things that I wanted to say before I hand it over. Is that cool?
Yeah, my bad. I just wanted to tell you something about the North Pole, but we'll talk more about it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So by observing the history, by being aware of the history, by being aware of the information that, you know, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, Baba Dick Gregory, Steve Coakley, all these people who have brought to the surface, that doesn't shape my reality. There was an implication there when you said that earlier. He's like, oh, well, just because you read these books, it shapes your reality. No, I get this information and I use it to observe my reality and interact with my reality from as much of a non-judgmental and non-expectation perspective, but from intertwining it into how this system is utilizing itself, utilizing the people to fight themselves and expand themselves into the next slave program. And the reason why, or one of the main reasons why, and I'll end on this, one of the main reasons why I focus on a lot of the healing of the so-called Black community, and so pretty much everybody. It's not just it's just the most obvious is the so-called Black community that needs to heal because of experiments. Like, here's a perfect example is the experiment of the black doll, white doll experiment, to where you don't have grown adults who are, you know, thinking about racism. You have 2, 3, 4, and 5-year-old children who are already indoctrinated into this race agenda, to where they will point at a white doll and say, that is the pretty doll, that's the smart doll, that's the good doll, and point at a black doll and say, that's the dirty one, that's the bad one, that's the criminal, that's the thug. These are 3- and 4-year-old babies that already have this racist. That's where I come from when I bring up the issue of racism, white genetic annihilation, colonialism, Colombian, all that stuff. That's where I'm coming from. It's because these kids are already indoctrinated into this program. And yeah, so I kind of went off what I was saying, but it'll come back to me in a second. So I'll let you build right now. But that's where I'm coming from with all this stuff. It doesn't really shape my reality. And I don't, to like summarize everything, I don't have the same origin perspective of the North Pole that you do, just because there's a phenomenon up there. I understand it, but I don't have enough proof, and I can't just go out there. Oh, this is what I'm sorry. I'll be real quick with this. This is why, and this is very important. The end, another big portion of why I don't really buy into the belief system that the North Pole is the origin of humanity and so on and so forth, is because that's still in Beliefville for me, and I leave it over there. But one of the main things that I'm seeing right now to focus on is the New Age mentality. The New Age community is already in effect, and it's selling the agenda that we are all human, we are all one, we are all, you know, happy-go-lucky, filled with love, stardust, star beings from aliens and all this other stuff. That agenda is already very much well indoctrinated into people, to where there's a community going on right now. And if we do not understand that, and if we just walk into another style of that existing, then we could be setting ourselves up for failure without being aware of the so-called powers that be's chess moves against us. That's why I focus a lot on the boots on the ground perspectives of race and humanity as we see it today within our actual history. I don't throw the history books out there. It's not even about history books. It's about historical observations, not the books, not the information we were told, the information. Because the New Age agenda is the next agenda to enslave humanity.
You mind if I get in, brother? So
no, I'm done. That's it.
Okay, yeah, I have nothing. I don't even know what the New Age is, brother. And when you say about what they're doing, I think that's our problem. I'm worried about what we can do. You see, we can't. Once we make a movement that's genuine from the people, we already, Subtle, you don't get what's really going on. I'm going to break it down for you. We both don't know everything, but I can teach you some right here. The New Age movement is like the Flat Earth Society. It's their version of what we need to be doing. And just because they do it don't mean it's wrong. And that's the reason they've been ruling us for years. Yes, we're supposed to be uniting all races, all people. If you poor and you tired of being oppressed, if your name Bubba, you live in a trailer park, you just as worse as the man in the ghetto. Both of us getting sprayed. See, the government added white people onto the Rex 84 plan in the 80s, but pro-blacks never even talked about that. They added poor white people onto the King Alfred plan because, truth be told, poor white folks been on it. White people enslaved themselves before they enslaved anybody. The word slave come from the word Slavic. And when you talk about, you don't believe in the North Pole story, it's a matter of belief, you're still not hearing me, brother. I hope it's not because you just want to disagree with your brother, because I got nothing but love, and thank you again for coming up here. But everybody who follow me know I don't teach as a fact that we come from the North Pole. I couldn't teach it as a fact. I teach it as a belief of the ancestors and minds. That's the fact. The only fact that I say about it is that our ancestors taught it. And I use that fact against the people who say they love our ancestors, that they so, teaching our ancestors knowledge. I ask a lot of pro-black people, how can you talk about Nut and Geb but still believe in the solar system? How can you talk about Nut and Geb and still believe in the out of Africa theory? How can you talk about Nut and Geb and don't know where humans originated from according to the ancients? The ancients said we all originated from the center of the earth where all compasses point to. Now, I can only go with that ancient belief because I can't go to the North Pole. You know why, Subtle? Because of those very powers that be that you just spoke of, my brother. And guess what? You know why I can't go there? When I get there, it ain't going to be a bunch of white people standing around. It's going to be militaries of all races, and all of them are assigned a section. So yes, the governments are united with all colors. Kumbaya. Look at the American military. I served next to black men, white men, Indians, Asian men, you name it. I served in the same American uniform, and they had all of us singing one song. They had all of us marching on the same foot. They had all of us with the same type gun. They had all of us screaming the same chants, sleeping in the same dorm, willing to risk our lives for each other to make corporations richer. Now that I'm out of the military, I say, you know what? I'm going to keep that same mentality because I see how they are winning. We're going to have to work together. People, there's only two races, haves and have-nots. All right. And once we realize we got more in common than what we got different on a surface feature, because whether your skin black or white, it still got pesticides in the pores of it because planes is shooting you with poison above your head. Whether your skin black or white, you got pink organs inside of your body that got motherfucking poison from the water in them. So what I'm doing is I'm going beyond the surface features, and I'm connecting humanity by what we got in common, and I'm uniting us all against a common enemy. That's why Tupac was a threat. Tupac didn't have no, he didn't take no sides. See, the thing with me is this. I'm not against white supremacy. I'm against indoctrination, period. Because when you end indoctrination, all forms of supremacy will end. You have to indoctrinate people to make them think they supreme or make another person think they supreme. I don't subscribe to any form of supremacy because, damn it, ain't nobody supreme to me, and I'm not inferior to none. What it is the world is out of balance, and Mother Nature has suffered more than any human on this earth. And once every human get over themselves and put Mother Nature at the forefront, hey, everybody get liberation. When you say give it to my people first before we all can get it, that keeps the division going. Nobody'll never get free. You mentioned the kids come out the womb, they don't have a concept of racism. I would never teach them then that blacks are supreme or whites are supreme. The only thing is supreme is the media that's telling us all of this dumb shit. So the North Pole origin story is a belief, it's not a fact. but it's an ancient belief that unite us all. Beliefs are important. They use beliefs to divide us all. If you look at religion, it's the #1 cause of war, and it's based on beliefs. But all religion is nothing but forms of supremacy. Think about it. Christians come in all races and colors, but they all feel like they supreme through Christ. So it ain't about black supremacy, white supremacy. You can be a Christian supremacist. You can be a Muslim supremacist. It's about ending supremacy, period, so that nature can be supreme again. And it's going to take a lot of people like me who unbiased, who ain't looking at either side, though I come from one side. I can easily say, man, I'm black. Let me just be on my people's side, and I'll take off overnight. But I don't want to serve either side. I want to be in the middle. That's where my art is, not on either scale, left or right, black or white. I'm telling people we on a green and blue earth, and them the colors we need to worry about. No matter what color you are, we all need clear water to drink. And that's being poisoned by people of all color who indoctrinated. So our #1 enemy ain't each other. It ain't white supremacy or black supremacy. It's supremacy, period. It's indoctrination. And once everybody see that, the world will thrive, nature will be liberated, and then the children of her will be liberated. You can't liberate none of her children without liberating her. It's like saying I'm going to heal the baby while it's in the mother's fetal from her addictions. You can't go inside of that fetal sac and heal that baby. You got to heal the mama, because her DNA, that baby's connected to her, and it'll heal the baby with that. So once we heal nature.
Bro, you in, I can't hear you. You still there? Can the people in the chat hear me or hear Bro Sanchez? I'm unmuted. Can people in the chat hear me? Okay, bro, I think you muted yourself. Thank you, Tom. You sound like chipmunks. Bro. You still there, bro? Oh, shit.
So guys, can you hear me? Am I still sounding like chipmunks? I'm gonna have to get the brother Subtle Infinity back up here. Get in the chat room right now. Let me know, do I still sound like chipmunks? Okay, somebody said I'm good now. Okay, somebody said I'm good. Subtle Infinity, I'm gonna give you a call right now. What part, listen, it was my turn to speak. At what part did I stop off at? Can somebody get in the chat room when I was talking? What part did I cut off at? Did y'all hear me when I said that we don't need to be battling against white supremacy or black supremacy? We need to be battling against supremacy, period, so that Mother Nature can be supreme. So what part did y'all hear? Did I speak? What part did y'all hear, so I know where to pick back up? Subtle Infinity, I'm calling you right now. Somebody get in the chat. Let me know after Subtle spoke. What part did it cut off on? Okay, damn. So y'all in here, none of that, man. I was going in. Subtle, come back on the panel. Do me a favor, Subtle, and mute your mic. I'm gonna come back to you. They said they didn't hear none of that, so I'm gonna make it brief and I'm gonna just kind of reiterate and I'll pass the mic back.
All right.
Okay. So basically what I was saying is it's not about addressing white supremacy. Once we do that, we fall for their agenda. It's not about addressing black supremacy. It's about getting rid of supremacy, period. Because I'm not against white supremacy. I'm against indoctrination. When we get rid of indoctrination, then all forms of supremacy will end so that Mother Nature can be supreme. See, it makes no sense for one person. Think of what I'm saying is, no matter what color you is, we all need clear water, and we're fools because they got us divided and conquered with the kindergarten mentality. When you say let's unite against the people that's poisoning our children, people say, man, hold up, not till we unite all black people first. We got to unite with ourselves first. And it's stupid to me because that's what keep the divide and conquering going. We already united with all of these race of people at McDonald's on our job, at Walmart's on our job. Like I said, when I was in the military, they had all of us united. They had black people, white people, Asian people united, stepping on the same foot, calling out the same cadences. If we can't do that for our other humanity, us have-nots, we're going to always be ruled over by governments. And these governments tell us everything that we hear from most of the people from these communities, that a certain group of race need to get some type of attention or reparations for the collective can make progress. I'm against that type of rhetoric because I think that's the problem. I think once every group of people get over themselves and see the Holocaust that's taking place to Mother Nature, then we'll all be restored. But it can't be a selfish act. Mother Nature ain't gonna let none of us be restored till we work together. The people that rule over us are not ruling over us because Mother Nature allowing it. They're ruling over us because we're allowing it, because we're failing to see what we have in common, because we're too busy divided by the things they push on their TV, like the brother said. But I'm going to say this because y'all didn't hear none of what I was saying, and the brother built for a while. I hope you give me a minute to just get some of my points here too. Hold on a minute. Because I'm setting this screen back up too. We left off for a minute. We had a little drop off.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I'm agreeing with where you're rolling right now. We're on the same page. You're saying the same thing.
That's what's up. So, and that's good to know. But so when we talk about her story, you got to think, all of our life they've given us the globe. All of our life they've given us indoctrination. And all of our life they've hid knowledge from us. So when you come into flat earth, history won't make sense to you because flat earth existed during the time, well, the original flat earth concept when before it was you know, there's a lot of flat earth models. A lot of them are heliocentric. They came when this thing was being balled up into the globe. But I'm going all the way back. And I'm going back to a time where every human on earth, all of the colors of humans work together. And I'm uniting us by that truth. I have no proof that we all originated from the North Pole, just like pro-blacks have no proof that we all originated from Africa. What I would say is the out of Africa theory divides us. That's why even the History Channel got tons of videos saying black people were first. The Discovery Channel tell you black people were first. There are many white people in teaching you all over the world black people were first. And these are the same people teaching us that we come from a Big Bang collision and we live on a spinning globe. So me as an honest man, excuse me, what's the word? Let's just say I'm kind of blushing at the idea of that I came first. Makes me feel good, but it does nothing for me. And if it was the truth, it would have been freed my people. Blacks don't come first, and there's no facts that can prove it. And we can look at phenomena such as, hey, a black man can have sex with a white person and have a colored baby. Don't you know that's the same thing with roses? You breed a red rose with a white rose, you'll get a pink rose. But we don't see the roses having the arguments that we have. So one thing about a lot of our black conscious teachers, a lot of their books are written and founded on the studies of Europeans. I don't know too many black scholars that own blood laboratories where we got different races of people in there testing blood under these equipments, these microscopes, and doing the studies. I have to admit to you, I come from the black conscious community, and a lot of our teachings rely on the studies of the government. The same people who gave us studies about dinosaurs and all of that. Black people coming first fit right into their narrative of Big Bangism and Darwinism. And the whole theory behind black people coming first is actually a mockery. The first European that created that is how they came up with the whole monkey concept when they said black people come from monkeys, when they said we monkeys. We get mad because we said as racist, but we still accept the theories that they give us because we want to be the line leaders and say we're first. They got every race of people caught up in this first mentality. Cry with me first. Let's mourn for me. I'm not new age, and I'm not about healing. I'm about fucking hurting. So I'm not about a group of people come along healing for about nothing that happened in history. And I don't hack nobody that if that's their agenda. That's not Brother Sanchez. I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm not about sitting around with a bunch of black people or white people looking at shit they taught us in history, talking about let's mourn and heal, because damn it, hey, I'm ready to hurt somebody right now. All right, I heal after I hurt them. The fact that we need to be healed is because they hurt us, and I heal after I strike back. Then I'll go somewhere and let my wounds heal. But we still at war. They still hitting us and hurting us. And we still gonna need to be spending all this time trying to heal if we don't strike back. So I ain't about healing based on history. I'm about hurting based on her story. Her story is written in the wind. The wind is pausing. Her story is written in the water. The oceans got oil in them the size of Texas. Her story is written in the rainforest where species is going out of existence. Her story is what we all need to get passionate about and stop being selfish about. Well, my people, my history, and their people. Fuck history. History is a deception. When I talk about her story, I go back to a time that unite us all based on that water outside, that air we all breathing. And that's the shit that they're attacking. You see, and the only thing I'm saying about her story, it predates history. And once we all go back there, we can see her story is nothing but the story of Mother Nature. This story is beyond the individual. It's beyond my story. It's beyond Asian history or Middle Eastern history or Japanese history or black history. This is earth history, the history of the wind, the history of the trees. That is the foundation of all people. So I'm not saying that Subtle Infinity disagree with me. I'm pretty sure more than what I'm saying he agree with. This is what made me and him collab. So let me just say that now. Me speaking this way is me being passionate about this message. I don't want it to be linked to New Age. The New Age is, when you think about the flat earth community, it's organic. We're real people doing real experiments, and we got the heat on the government's ass. Their response to that is a movement that's not organic called a flat earth society. That's their version of what we are. So yeah, they always got a mock version of what we should be really doing though. So yeah, we should really be uniting all people of one common goal of all colors, but not under their fake ass New Age movement. That's the psyop to the real unity that we should have been did as humanity. We've been supposed to overthrow the powers that be, but we was too focused on surface differences. And they stopped us from uniting because they told the religious folks when all the people start uniting, the Antichrist coming. They said when all the world start trying to unite, great wars gonna come and the Antichrist gonna come back. So anybody come talking about unity and talking about world peace, they the Antichrist. So what they did to the Christians to prevent all people uniting, they did it to the black conscious communities as well. A lot of our teachers died, man, indoctrinated. Francis Cress Wilson was one of them. And we got to be able to admit that a lot of our teachers didn't have all of the answers that we got today. We in a better position than our teachers was in. And we got to know that as the youth and take those teachings to the next level. Otherwise, we failing them. Francis Cress Wilson and a lot of our teachers who laid that great foundation, they ain't around for this flat earth truth right now. Can you imagine if some of them was around to get this now, how it'll change the teachings in the community and change the history that we thought we knew? See, and this is why the North Pole origin story is so important. Think about it. We against the powers that be. We know everything they hide from us is some shit that they don't want us to get because it can empower us. So the fact that they don't want us traveling to the North Pole, and the fact that our African ancestors spoke great things about the North Pole, and our African ancestors said that all humans of all colors originated from the North Pole. I can prove this. I've done it several times on the channel, and I'm going to do it on this one. Guess what I'm telling you? All the people say that. And the governments of the world don't want none of us going to the North Pole, y'all, because maybe what unites them with the UN is what divides us. There can only be world governments if there's people that need to be governed. We need to be governed because we can't unite on our own. That's what I represent. I represent unity amongst the masses on their own, not with no new age movement, no kumbaya movement, but the fact that Bubba getting sprayed and Ray Ray getting sprayed with chemtrails, so they don't need to be protesting on the news while CNN make money off filming it, making a fool out of both of them, because it ain't about races. And these people show us that based on them united, keeping us all conquered. So me and Subtle agree on a lot of that. And the only thing I'm going to tell y'all right now is that need to be the talk of the town. The things that I just mentioned is what need to be talked about. Flat Earth, the North Pole, what the Masons are hiding, why we can't go to the North Pole, why ain't nobody in the black conscious community teaching about Nut and Gale? Why ain't nobody talking about these North Pole origins? I don't care if they beliefs and we can't prove them. We can't prove none of it, but why ain't we talking about it? Everybody, see, it's a reason they don't want us talking about it. And North Pole need to be talked about because they are guarding the North Pole and all compasses are pointing us there. And the ancestors said all humans come from the North Pole. So we can't prove it, but it's more to support that belief than any other. So I think that's the one need to be talked about the most, and I think the shit that I'm saying need to be talked about more than anything, because anything else we already know about. And shout out to Subtle Infinity. Go ahead and snatch that mic, my brother, and build on it.
Okay, yeah, that's exactly pretty much where we I got some echo going. Okay. We disagree on that last part. The majority of everything you were building upon, we're pretty much on the same page. But I like that you actually took a side note and said that by me saying this way is my passion. It's not that I'm implying this on Subtle Infinity. I appreciate that, because to anybody watching this video who's new to this, they will hear that tone and they will hear your style and be like, well, is this what this individual thinks like? And there's a whole bunch of builds, kind of like that video where you did in response to my video about the white supremacy comparison to the New Age and the flat earth movements and so on and so forth, where you're talking about the slave ships and stuff like that, like where I actually referenced the slave ships and how that's not my belief, but yet there was like a 10-minute build on that to where, you know, it could have been spent on, you know, something else, building on something else. So I appreciate you stepping out and saying that, but at the same time, I would politely ask you to be more cognizant of how your delivery is in the future when you go on like that, because of how I just said what I said, and it kind of throws me off. I don't really want to, because we already know that, and a lot of your subscribers, we already understand all that information, so it doesn't really have to be kind of like that unless you're trying to convince me of something. So, but you're not, because we're on the same page there.
Oh, let me just say, my brother, and I don't mean to cut you off. I just want to say, this is me all the time. If I cut this off and I'm talking to my girlfriend about something passionate, I'll be the same way. It was me before Flat Earth. I just want to make this clear. I'm not going to change this. This is, I can't. I wouldn't be Brother Sanchez. I'm going to just say this and you go ahead. People have to have thick skin. What I don't get is, most black people, we come from the hood. We listen to hip hop, rap. We got a fucking president whose mouth is so foul that he make me look like a saint. I looked up the man like Khalid Muhammad, vocal people who spoke like a lion. Martin Luther King, when he did his speech, he didn't say, I have a dream. He said, no, what I'm saying is, when Martin Luther King did his speech, he didn't say, you know, I have a dream. He said, I have a dream. And these are the men that I looked up to, and I mimic them in a way. It's in me to kind of have that vocal preacher type approach. I'm from the South. I come from the hood. You had to yell to be heard, and I'm sorry. I apologize to you, but I want the people to know that's just me. And you know, we talk rough where I'm from. Like I said, thank you from Oakland. I know it's a bit rough there, but we in a nation that's very, you got to be thick-skinned in America, especially with a president like Trump. But I will be cognizant and try to tone it down, but I'm very passionate with this stuff, and I apologize to you if you felt like, you know, I was kind of get crunk on you, my brother.
Yeah, no, it's not about your passion. I have no problem with your passion. You heard my videos, you know how they are. It's just when we are talking with each other, you're talking with me at the same time. You're not only making a video where other people are listening, we are having a discussion right now. And it's not about your passion. When I'm saying that, it's not that I have thin skin. It's about your delivery in our discussion. That's where I'm coming from. It's not that I have thin skin and have a problem with your passion at all. I'm saying that the delivery is completely different than the passion. You can have your passion and still have a delivery that's cognizant of
not implying certain things on the person you're having a discussion with.
That's what I'm saying. I can't do that. I can't have passion and not express it. That's what I can't do it. I'm learning, but I can't suppress passion. Now maybe I need to learn to do that, but I can't. Maybe you could teach us.
Yeah, it's not a matter of suppressing the passion. It's just a matter of being cognizant of the delivery and who you're talking to, who you're talking with. That's what I'm saying. Like you said, 90% of the stuff that you're talking about, we agree with that. So there's not necessarily a bill that needs to be passionately expanded upon, because we've had these conversations over and over again. And when it goes that far, the delivery actually takes over from what's going, and it becomes projected onto the person that you're having a discussion with. That's what I'm saying.
If anything, what I hope my delivery would do is make the person that's agreeing with me get crunk too and say, hell yeah, bro Sanchez, I'm tired of this divide and conquer too. I'm with you, brother. See, I've had people on the panel like that. I had people on the panel that when I go into those modes, they say, that's what the fuck I'm talking about, bro Sanchez. Let me tell you something subtle. Just a year and a half ago, I was more passionate than I am now, and I was more vocal than I am now, but it was different. I was in a room with a bunch of guys and a bunch of beers, and I was saying, go Redskins, hit that motherfucker. I had my favorite team, my favorite player. I was saying, dunk that motherfucking ball, LeBron. God damn it, how you missed that, you sorry motherfucker. I was yelling at a TV and a basketball game. That passion never went nowhere. Today I'm yelling at a TV at fake ass NASA images, at deception, at divide and conquer, and I'm not gonna do it subtle. This is not a shot at you. This is a props to you, because your approach is needed. What I'm saying is, it's not me though, and I'm never gonna be cognizant of how I deliver something, because what that's doing to me is it's censoring who I am. So if this is naturally me, what you hear, this is who I'm always be comfortably. Anything else would be me being uncomfortable to make someone else comfortable with being around me. So what I say to people who think I'm too turned up or too passionate about anything is maybe they need to go in instead of me turning down. I think that's the point, man. No, and I'm not saying this to you. I'm addressing what you're saying in a universal way to everybody who say this, because often a lot of people mistake my passion with, you know, some type of like I'm coming at them. I'm coming at the powers that be on both of our behalf for our children. Much love, man. Go ahead.
All right, so
starting from the build before you got cut off and turned into a chipmunk, I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah, I hear your voice.
I couldn't hear it. Right. I couldn't hear it through here, but I know what y'all talking about. And then you steady trying to talk, and it's like chipmunkish. I know how to troubleshoot that, so I fixed it. Somebody said your sound is messed up, but you sound good on my end. Give the people a mic check for me, Subtle, and then go ahead.
Okay, check. Can you hear me?
How we sounding in the chat on Subtle, and give us a 1 if Subtle sound good. So we just gonna continue if we see the ones.
Check.
Come on, people. Come on with the ones in the chat room if he clear, so we can continue the show. Okay, yeah, you good to go. I just had to make sure you good to go, Subtle.
All right, so this is what I'm saying in reference to what you were saying before you got cut off. This is kind of where we differ, and these are like the main things. What you said was, I'm not concerned with what they are doing. I'm concerned with what we can do. Now, I have a very definite problem with that, because I understand what you mean by that. I understand like empowering our people and empowering the information stream and understanding what's going on. At the same time, I have a very definite focus on what these so-called powers that be are doing, because there are the majority, I would actually say the majority of people fall in to the program of being susceptible to the alchemy that's projected by the so-called they. I'm speaking in reference to the information and sharing information that helps them actually start to question their reality more so, and not only focus on what we can do. And in fact, once we start realizing that information, looking into the true history, not the manipulated history, healing the wounds that have been subjected on all people, not just the so-called black people, but all people, as a result of this jacked up history, the white supremacy program, and fear of white genetic annihilation. All that information will in fact help us heal, so we can do more of focusing on what it is, like you said, we can do to make this a better place and reconnecting with nature and so on and so forth. I'm just saying that there's more work that needs to be done. And in order for you to take a step forward, you have to first understand where you just came from before you understand where you are and where it is that you are going. And all of those people who are subjected to the television and who are subjected to those indoctrinations, like you were saying, I'm not about supremacy, I'm about indoctrination. Well, the television is indoctrination. The public education system is indoctrination. All these other programs are indoctrination that need to be disassembled before, internally and externally, before people actually start to make forward progress, like you were saying, what we can do to reconnect with nature and so on and so forth. So it sounds like what's happening is that your focus is on some chapters later on down the road that I'm saying to myself, because I won't project this onto you, because you do your thing, I'm going to do my thing. What I'm saying is that I'm on like the introduction in chapter 1, and I feel that there's a lot of work that needs to be done in reference to history and in reference to a lot of the indoctrination programs that are still existing today. And in reference to the new age, you also said, I don't know about the new age. Well, what I'm saying is that there is a lot of information to understand about the new age community, the new age agenda, and how that's being manipulated into the mainstream consciousness through mainstream media, through ancient aliens, through the new age community, and so on and so forth. And especially to boots on the ground, the so-called powers that be that you referenced. If you're not aware, the new age community is heavily about channelers. The new age community has, and this is just one example to share how this locks into the power grid. The new age community is about keeping people in this future, so-called future-minded process that involves the alien agenda, that is founded in the idea that we need to just not look at racism. We need to just look to the future and not think about this. We need to just come together as one. This is why the LGBT stuff is all in the mainstream news.
Can I speak on that, brother?
Let me finish. You spoke for a long time, bro. I got to get these points across.
No doubt, no doubt.
There's a lot of there's a lot of this indoctrination that you are saying that is very much being pumped in, not only to the adults of today, but these children, like I said, in reference to the black doll, white doll experiment, that if you were to see and have the same passion about white genetic, the white supremacy program, and so on and so forth, that you do about chemtrails, and see this, then you will see where I'm coming from, that yes, it's all true about we need to reconnect with nature and that we are all being sprayed by chemtrails. But what you can also see is that you can also see that racism, white supremacy, and all of the other programs that have been indoctrinated to the masses could also be seen as a chemtrail, could also be seen as something being sprayed on the people. Psychologically, we are being sprayed with these mind control programs that are selling into our focus in our moments a future that benefits the next enslavement program. And if you are unaware of how these programs, that is the history, how they have affected us to the depths, how they still exist today, and how they are being manipulated for the future, then you won't actually be able to address them. Because that's what you said. We need to just, we need to end this racist mentality. We need to end all this stuff. Well, you can't really end something if you're not completely aware of how that something is engaged in everything. Yeah,
that's why I wanted to clarify where I stood on it. I'm not really saying.
Okay, I only got a couple more things to say. So in reference to the new age, what I'm saying and why I'm so passionate about referencing, understanding, and overstanding the race agenda and white genetic annihilation, white supremacy, white privilege, the colonial program, and the history of these alchemists that have enslaved everybody outside of color. I'll reiterate that over and over again. Outside, because I made a video about the boule. I've talked about, Hollywood celebrities and all that other stuff. It's not, once you get all the way to the top of the pyramid, I'm understanding that it's the color isn't there and isn't there. It's about power, control, haves and have-nots. But the manipulation of the chess pieces on the board, which include, I would say, the queen against the have-nots, is the race agenda used against us, needs to be understood if you're actually going to end it. And in order to place ourselves in a better position, we have to hold ourselves to the responsibility of building, like you said, building on top of what our ancestors, like Dr. Francis Cress Welsing and all the other teachers out there, have said. And we have the responsibility not only to build on where they came from, but to also understand, understand, and overstand every single detail that they were coming from the heart, not from what their egos were presenting, what they were saying from the human perspective, from the heart. We have to hold ourselves accountable for understanding where they were coming from and then build upon that. Otherwise, we will just be repeating history and running ourselves into a program that we can't see because we didn't do that research, because possibly we were too focused on, you know, what we thought it is. And that's how I see like the North Pole stuff. Not to say it's wrong and everything like that. And I understand.
You see, but yeah, I want to deal with we're going to get on the North Pole, but see, when you get on that, I want to deal with the previous stuff you said. We can go back to the North Pole, but what I'm going to say is this. You said so much that I have to try to write. My paper's building up on me. But what I'm going to say is this. We talk about the race agenda. And to me, everything you said is cool, but it's unrealistic to me. You're not going to convince all of these black people in America to get these books and to look into this stuff and to research all this stuff. It's not gonna happen. You not the average black guy that I was raised around. They didn't even do enough research to learn about their own human body. They're not reading. They're not. And listen what I'm saying. My approach is a more feasible approach to change, because what I'm saying is this. And let me respond to you for a minute. You got a little background noise there. What I'm saying is this. We're not going to convince everybody to get this stuff and comprehend it the way Subtle Infinity do before we can make change. It's not going to happen. But we can convince everybody, no matter what color you are, that you being overtaxed, that you being sprayed, you being poisoned, your children being vaccinated. This ain't limited to color. This is warfare. So what I'm saying is, at what point on a battlefield do we specify which group of soldiers should the whole protect? In other words, when I was in the military, there was never one time on the battleground where all of the black soldiers said, listen, man, I know we all in this war together, but you know, y'all all need to protect us black ones. No, we all was there soldiers fighting for the same cause. All I'm saying is to specify any group of race and put it on a pedestal for any reason is to fall hook, line, and sinker into the race agenda. Especially when we say that at the top of the pyramid there is no race. So why should there be some at the bottom? If it ain't no chemtrails at the top of the pyramid, why should there be some at the bottom? If they ain't eating GMO food at the top, why I gotta eat them at the bottom? If they ain't promoting race division at the top, why we promoting it at the bottom? And I'm not against Subtle Infinity. I don't think he's promoting racial division. I think he just don't see the universal, the massiveness of my message. I've been on YouTube 2 years, and in 2 years I have over 50,000 people following me. I started off as a pro-black young man in an interracial relationship. I was rejected in the black conscious community. They said, we don't want you trying to tell black people to do anything positive because you got an Asian woman. It was at that point where I went on a quest to start researching the origins of humanity. And I went to the Yakub story and a bunch of more stories, and I didn't know where else to go until Flat Earth Truth came into my life. And all my answers, all my questions was answered. That they needed to control science. The powers that be are a group of families and societies of men that makes up all races. What are they discussing in these lodges? That's what I teach on my channel. That's why I'm growing so fast. I'm not about bitching about what the secret societies are doing to us. I spend my time exposing the secret. So I'm a real threat. And the secret is that everything you ever heard is bullshit and you were born into a matrix. No, I haven't met a person yet who is more versed than me on just the, well, let me stop because that's being too cocky. What I'm going to say is this. When you talk flat earth and black history and you want to merge the two, that's something I'm very skilled at. Most people that give you black history, they give it to you from black people who were globalists, black people who only had one level of understanding about their reality. I consider myself the new pioneer in what would be the black conscious community, because the flat earth is the missing links to everyone's communities. You notice there is no white conscious community, Asian conscious community, none of that, because one thing I can say about the agenda with black people, we're easily steered. For years, we've been the one race that they've used to serve all of their agendas. So what I do to the black conscious community, and many people follow me, come from that community to tell me, they research my stuff and say, hey, it checks out. I'm not a bullshitter, and this is what we're gonna do so that we don't go back and forth. We're gonna give the people some good science here, Subtle, and I'm gonna ask you some questions, because these are important questions. If we answer these questions with honesty, discussions like this can have more peace and clarity, meaning that we ain't gonna always agree, but the questions I'm about to ask you gonna let the world see how the mind of subtle infinity, the mind of Brother Sanchez, end up how they were today. Me and you come from the same community, but in that one community there are many different diverse teachings. I mean, you mentioned Francis Cress Welsing. I can show you, you know, I'm pretty sure that somebody can mention some teachers now who disagree with some of her stuff, and then somebody mention some teachers in the community that disagree with them. In other words, in any community, there's going to be a diverse group of teachings. And what the listener or the viewer must do is go into that community, hear all sides, and take what they take and leave what they leave to better themselves. So it's honest. And what I want to say is this. We talk about black people in a supreme way. Now, we don't call it black supremacy. We call it black genetic superiority, for lack of better words. Now, nature does show us something special about black people. One of the main things that I pointed out a lot in the past was, hey, I'm a black man. If I have sex with a white woman, the baby gonna be colored. You know, it's gonna come out with some color. But what we gotta realize is this. A black man have sex with a white woman, the baby come out mixed. And it's not as dark as the daddy and not as light as the mama. Scientists says when they do the studies with the blood that the black DNA annihilates the white DNA, but yet they still call it a mixed baby. Just like there's many holes in the globe, there's many holes in this genetics and the racist origin of the races. And my thing at the end of the day is to go about it the same way we have the honesty to question the globe, go about it the same way to question our origins. So we know we got to question everything they told us. Everything Francis Cress Welsing teach is many of white people teaching it today too. I can show you a white girl, she's popular on YouTube. If Francis Cress Welsing was alive now, Francis Cress Welsing and this white girl would be best friends, because this white girl is on it. She's talking about how black people were here first, the melanin, how genetic, how white folks was scared about that. Somebody introduced me to her on Facebook. She was going viral. If y'all know who I'm talking about, mods, put the link to this girl channel out there. She's a white girl, and she make all the arguments Subtle make, and that most of the black conscious community make about melanin and stuff. And what I did, I said, hey, how?
Don't put me in there like that.
Oh, no, I'm saying because she's teaching along the lines of Francis Cress Welsing. So
yeah, I'm not teaching, I'm sharing the information.
Okay, well, listen,
I'm not
let me exclude you. Let me just exclude Subtle from that whole thing. Let me just say that she's making the arguments that we hear on the panel often. When we get with the people who don't see, for example, the importance of the North Pole story is the importance of human origins. If someone don't know the importance of the North Pole story, then it's like saying, I know they told us about the Big Bang Theory, and I know that's a lie, but I don't care to look into what the ancients said as the alternative. Now, the ancients may have a belief, but I once had a belief. It was called a Big Bang belief. I left that belief when I found out about the flat earth, and I had no belief at all. I was like, man, I don't know what to believe about human origins. I'm just going to research it because it's best not to have no beliefs anyway. But what all of my research led to me doing is finding out that there's no way possible for us to come up with a fact on how we get here. Nobody can. It's like no one can come up with a fact on what happened when we leave here. No one can tell you what happened when you die. So these are things that's going to always be beliefs. With that being said, whose belief should I take and whose belief got more credibility? And why are these beliefs important to have? Because for years, humans have used beliefs to compensate what they don't know. And the fact you can say they're detrimental or good, but they exist. The government are using these beliefs to divide us with a Big Bang theory that said all of these races come from a solar soup that cooled off in the ocean, and then Pangea happened, and then the out of Africa theory later happened after dinosaurs left the planet. They needed black people to come up with their bogus origin story. And I'm going to do a whole series of videos to show you how the out of Africa theory and black genetic, the whole, think about it. White people pushing the same thing. They telling you melanin and black people are gods. White people are saying that black people genetics are annihilating theirs. And it's almost like they want us to believe this for a reason. And I've done research and I figured out that why they want us to believe it. I figured out that we sheeple, y'all. And that these North Pole stories are what we need to be focused on. That's why they got them militaries guarding the North Pole. The answers to all of our questions lies in asking about these places that they're guarding, like Antarctica, like the North Pole. If we let them guard these places with militaries and also with intellectual censorship, meaning when I bring up the North Pole stories, they get mocked. People say, man, I don't have no proof about that. It sounds baloney. That's what they said when I brought up flat earth. Everything we bring up about our ancients, it get mocked first. It ain't enough to just know the earth flat. They gonna mock that, but when you find out it's flat, then you tell them, hey, the rabbit hole goes even deeper. Guess what? There's no such thing as races. They gonna laugh at you because some people, in my opinion, are not willing to go how deep the rabbit hole go. When we was little, they built the matrix off our emotions. It's a dream world built off our mind and our streams being put based on false history, fake science, and a fake cosmological construct. Morpheus told us this in so many ways. The only way out the matrix is to not listen to shit in the matrix, but to question everything. So when I say everything, I mean everything, even the origin stories of all these races, because this will end the divisiveness and end the matrix and end all the arguments so that we can start beginning the war now, because I'm ready to fight now. I'm tired of talking. And we're going to keep on talking and arguing about my race battle, who came first, who need to be healed and consoled on right now, and who need the most attention because this happened to that group and that happened to that group. I don't care what happened to no particular group, including my own. I care what happened to Earth as a whole, because we are in that equation. If they attacking Mother Nature, they attacking your children and all of us, not one particular group, but the very soul of humanity. So when we start questioning that, we go back to questions like, if there's one creator, how can there be so many divided children that were created by that one creator? This is the dialogue I like to have on my channels. And I'm saying all this to ask my brother Subtle right now, is there a problem with this dialogue? How is it a threat? Because I think this type of dialogue is the answer.
How's what a threat?
Well, I know you agree with a lot of the things that I just said, and you probably disagree with a few. But what I'm saying is that's pretty much my message. I'm focusing on, and I'm gonna go on and expound on it more here later after you build. But basically what I'm asking you is, I don't know if you fully understand my mission and my message, but I can expound on it long as I need to for you to understand it, for you to answer this question. Do you think my message is a threat? Because I think, along with a lot of more thousands of people, they think that this message is a new one, unique, rare. I'm the only one saying it. Dick Gregory spoke this same message, and a lot of most spoke it, but they didn't have the flat earth with it. I take it to the next level with the flat earth, which I think is the missing link. But, you know, I'm a threat to all these government psyop movements like the New Age movement and all of that, because they trying to unite us with some kumbaya where we don't strike against the powers. I'm uniting us with the spirit of Tupac, the spirit of Malcolm X, which says I can work with my fellow brother no matter his skin tone, long as he have the same coming. In other words, they were saying haves versus have-nots. Thug life was attacked by the government. I don't know if you know that, but Tupac was being attacked. They attacked the concept of thug life because that was the same concept Bob Marley had of one love. They killed Bob Marley and Tupac. They didn't kill Farrakhan for screaming black power. They love people who love to talk about black problems and all of that. They hate people like me who say we all need to come together. They kill them quick. And it's because they're trying to take over that movement with the New Age movement. They don't want us all coming together, waking up saying, hey, you right, brother Sanchez. When the white man next door to me and the Asian man down the street from me all come together and say, damn it, yo, you right, man. They are vaccinating all of our children. They are making all of us work all of our life and we don't get to retire for nothing. We are risking our lives and they military fighting for them. When are we going to come together for ourselves that way and risk our lives to end the whole system? You spoke about fiat currency. It won't be ended until all of the different colors who partake in the currency agree that we being bamboozled. And we get over our surface features and agree that this powers that be is fucking all of us. And I know you agree with that, but I'm just saying I want to hear you expound on it some more too.
Okay, yeah, well, where I'm coming, I'm not, like, when I made that video talking about the dangers of flat earth and the dangers of the New Age, I wasn't talking about you or your message. You can listen to that whole video, and you were not at all referenced in that video. In fact, nobody was. It was the idea and the approach that could easily be co-opted by the government, by the system, which is what I was saying. And that is what I'm saying is dangerous, in a sense that I'm not trying to unite or bring people together around one certain concept. I'm about sharing information with people so people can unite themselves with what it is that they are comfortable with uniting themselves with on their own. I don't need any kind of centerpiece to unite people around. The so-called powers that be and the manipulative system needs something to rally around in order to get the sheeple to follow some kind of token, some kind of flashy thing so they can celebrate and create this camaraderie in these teams. I'm not about that. I don't give a shit. I wasn't raised like that. I'm about finding out the information and getting to those answers yourselves. These people, everybody is going to get to their own. This is not about how I see it. It's more about understanding what's going on the individual level that will allow, when that critical mass hits, the understanding and the overstanding to naturally take place. If I put something like flat earth or something like the New Age in that center, or the alien agenda in that center, and say, you know, this is what we need to rally around. This is what we need to focus on to move forward. I can't do that shit. I'm not about that, because I want people to empower themselves and think for themselves, because there might be something else that I'm unaware of by me just being the person built with flaws just like anybody else. I am flawed. I don't have all the answers. So I'm not going to put something out there that says this is what we need to rally around. And one thing you said earlier.
Hey, can I ask you a question based on that?
You built for a long time, bro. I gotta get this out.
I asked the question and you didn't answer it. I wanted you to answer. Well, I'll write it down. I'll ask it again. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'm getting ready. I might answer it when I get there. What something you referenced was you're about feasible change. These are your words. I'm not about no feasible change. I'm about burning this fucking system down that has enslaved humanity and created the haves and have-nots program to the umpteenth degree.
I just said that. I said we got to end the system. Then it's going to take all of us together to end the system. I agree with you on that. We're in agreement with all of this. I'm just letting the people know. Feasible feasible change. When I said that, I was just saying change that we can do instead of change that can't happen.
See, I don't think that there's any change that can't happen. Every change, in my perspective, is feasible change. It's not based upon what I think can and can't be changed.
What I mean about change that can't. Hold on.
Bro, you keep interrupting me.
I'm trying to calm you. Yeah, I'm not trying to get worked up. It seems like you arguing. I'm trying to have a good discussion. What I'm saying is, listen. When I talk about, okay, but let me respond because you misrepresent what I'm saying. When I talk about change that can easily be. When I talk about change, right? Calm down, brother. When I talk about change, that
I'm not gonna calm down,
brother. You misrepresented my word. The people want to know exactly what I mean. So when I talk about the change that won't happen, I mean there's a lot of people telling me in my emails, brother, that we need to stop all black men from dating outside their race. I'm saying that's impossible. You'll never stop certain stuff. Like, you'll never stop. It's some things you may want to see change, but it's impossible. Like, we'll never stop certain things. That's all I meant. I don't want you to know that we in agreement because we going good. We in agreement, brother.
Yeah, I'm not saying that that's not going to change too. Like, I'm saying that it's okay. This is what I'm saying. It's natural for a black man, so-called black man, to be born in Oakland and go be raised in Japan or go in the Philippines or something like that and fall in love and have a baby. I understand that. That's fine. That seems natural to me. I also understand the power behind and the beauty behind wanting to be with somebody of your so-called same race. I don't disagree with that. I think they are both natural things that a lot of communities are not really seeing.
Yeah, me too.
I see that there's a power in both of this. See, now that gap in reality is being manipulated to work against the people, just like the race agenda is being manipulated to work against the people, just like the creative and destructive interpretation of this reality from the New Age perspective is being used against the people. And this is why I say it's very dangerous to not look at the history and not heal these wounds and not address these topics to the umpteenth degree before we find ourselves moving forward in anything like that. Because if you start doing that, then you might actually be setting up the platform for the next agenda. You, with your own words, said, I don't know anything about the New Age community. You also said, well, I'll leave it there. The New Age community, in my opinion, is a very, in my opinion, is actually 10 to 100 times more of something to focus on. And I hope you take this passion that I'm saying right now and research this. It is being used to sell in the next agenda. And the reason why I lumped together the New Age commercial community that includes Oprah, I'm talking about Oprah, I'm talking about Deepak Chopra, I'm talking about the television version of the New Age. the community version of the new age that is getting people into these mentalities. And I've been through this community. I know how this shit works, and I know what they're telling people to think about their reality. I know how that shit works, and I'm saying that it's very definitely going to be one of the next agendas. The reason why I lumped it together with the flat earth is because flat earth basic level can easily be co-opted by the so-called powers that be. That is not to say that we shouldn't talk about like the information in the flat earth. We shouldn't talk about the ancestral interpretations of the flat earth, or we shouldn't talk about like the good information that is in and around the new age community. It's only to emphasize the extreme importance of the new age mechanism and the possible mainstream flat earth mechanism that can and will, in my opinion, be used against the people to make another enslavement program. And if we have invested ourselves in one version of coming together around one idea, and then that idea gets co-opted by the slave program, then that's what I'm saying. The waters will be very murky, and it'll be very difficult to see what is a part of the next enslavement program and what is real. And the real people who are aware of the information, they're going to know. They're going to have discernment. They're going to be like, look, I'm not falling for that. I'm going to listen to these people. And that's cool. And that goes into something else you said about the growth of your channel. Like I don't care about the growth of my channel. I'm about the growth of the information. I'm about the growth of my perspective.
See, hold on, bro. Hold on. I didn't mention that in that light. Hold on, wait a minute. We in agreement. It seemed like, you know what? This is what I'm gonna say, bro. I mean, I'm listening to you, Bill, and I like a lot of what you saying. I don't agree with it all. Everyone heard when I mentioned the growth of my channel. I mentioned it. Brother, if you go to my first video, I started my YouTube channel for my Facebook followers. I was already getting a following over there. I wasn't going to start a YouTube channel. I didn't care about none of that. This growth is new to me. But this the thing about it. Most of the people that's following me, I'm looking at the geographics and dynamics of where they're coming from, so the growth is telling me a story. It ain't about just the growth of my channel. This represents the growth of me as well. So I mean, I think a channel grows, especially if you're talking about controversial topics that's not popular, because they want the channels that's growing is the damn challenges, the cinnamon challenge, the bullshit, you know, honey boo boo. So what I'm saying is, you'll never grow at that rate. I never grow at that rate. People think my channel is big, man. My channel is small when you start thinking about the powerhouses on YouTube. And I'm not even thinking about numbers. Numbers tell us something. You ever heard the term numbers don't lie? People don't subscribe to channels for not a reason. And I ask myself, what are those reasons people are subscribing to me? And I said, hey,
you said numbers don't lie. YouTube numbers are some lying motherfuckers. You've seen you know.
Oh yeah, I agree with you.
You've seen views go up and down.
Let me
go up and down.
Let me say,
and as far as I'll end it real quick. The trending thing is a lying thing. So if that's taken into account, nothing really matters in reference to the numbers. The only thing that matters is the information itself, because they can pump up whoever they want.
But if you hear my point, if you let me get to my point, you'll see that I'm totally agreeing on that. Everybody else know numbers don't lie. The government do. All right. Numbers don't lie, but NASA do, and they manipulate numbers. At the end of the day, it's a true statement, and I'm standing by the fact that numbers don't lie. But why am I saying that in relation to what you're saying with the bringing up the subs? Well, here's the thing. I have a channel with a voice where I speak to people. The more people I can speak to, the more impact I can make. How I know I'm making an impact is by me looking at the numbers and seeing all those real numbers. Because listen, some people buy subscribers. And some people create content with drama because they don't have nothing intellectual to offer. I know that my channel is growing with genuine people because I have a genuine teaching. You can't go to no other channel on this earth and get the teachings what's on my channel. So I'm going to die with a book of my own, what people can refer to with me as the author. And they'll see where I've expounded all of the teachings of those before me. So hopefully I'll be accepted by the ancestors. I didn't stagnate the teachings. I made the additional flat earth thing onto our teachings, and I found out how massive the deception is. And many people are doing the research saying, Brother Sanchez, you right. They're controlling the world by manipulating black people's history and black people's origins. Because these are the questions I ask
And
when
I said it's forever expanding, and what I say on my channel is that just because we are aware of flat earth, I don't stop there. I'm forever expanding and finding out how the system is still expanding itself to further enslave people.
But see, and the thing about me is, I have to admit to you, I don't study the system as much as I study the controllers and the psychology of the ones who create the system. The system is a byproduct of the sick mind of the individuals who created it. So me getting popular is because a lot of people, and I got followers that's in college, that's graduated with degrees. I can open up emails now of professors that'll say, brother, I watch your channel and I'm a professor, and you helped me tie to some of the symbols that I've always had questions about. I basically took syncretism to the next level. This ain't to my horn, this letting you know what I do, so maybe you can have a better respect for it, and then maybe I can have a better respect for what you do. The things that you address in subtle, I spent addressing in my first year on YouTube. I encourage everybody from the Black conscious community in particular to go to my first video and work your way up, and you will see that I talk about nothing but the indigenous story. I've expanded and expounded upon that story with the flat earth truth. So unlike a lot of other people, I didn't just learn the earth was flat and kept singing the same old song. I use it to change my notes. I adjusted my teachings with that new information. When I learned out the earth was flat, then I learned that the ancient cosmology is also a history book. Yes, the history is written in the cosmology. When you open up the Bible, it starts off with history and cosmology in Genesis. The word Genesis, the root word of Genesis is genie. And a genie is the creature in the lamp that they gave us in mythology. But he is an offshoot of the ancient Nagini. The Naginis come from Southeast Asia. They was half human, half serpent. Today they give you the genie to hide all of this. They gave you the genesis in the Bible to hide the true origin stories of the Genesis, the genetics of humanity. And when you ask these questions, you will see what the grand deception is deeper than flat earth. It's the dividing up of all the humans based on skin tone, when nothing else in nature is divided up like that. There's a different color of every animal, and they don't even acknowledge it. There's an albino crocodile. Listen, we say white people come from albinos, and then we see that albino is a group of people all of themselves. Meaning you can have Chinese albinos, Jamaican albinos, black albinos. So they ain't telling us the right thing about where we come from and who we are. So if you got flat earth and we still not asking these questions about what connect us, but we still asking questions about what divide us, then I don't think people really benefit from the flat earth truth. When I came into flat earth, it made me stop asking questions about what divide us and made me ask the questions that they're hiding, what unite us. Because in Genesis, in the Bible, that same story can be told in a lot of ancient mythologies of how humans come to be. This is what they don't want us to know and talk about. They want us to keep talking about each other's slavery, history, and things that they talking about, because they making videos about these things every year. Roots was a historic one, and they making money off of it. Get Out. They want us talking about this stuff, but they don't want us talking about what united us in the beginning and what can unite us to overthrow this system right now in the end and today. Subtle Infinity, you speak about with passion when you say you want to overthrow this system, and I love you for that, because that's what I want to do. But I think the only way we can do that is by all of the have-nots realizing there's only two races, haves and have-nots. And that when we use the word race, that's the only context we should use it in. Because think about it. Yeah, there's a lot of people who don't know what we know, and we got to stoop to their level to bring them up to ours, but we don't perpetuate their victimized mentality. And that's what the powers that be are doing. So I want to see all of us united, kicking ass, man, fighting for this water. Because right now, when I get off this call, Subtle, I'm going to go pour me up a glass of water. And guess what? It's got fluoride in it. I'm going to drink it. You know, I'm going to boil my noodles in it tonight when we get off this call. And guess what I find out, Subtle Infinity? Everybody in that chat room going to do the same. They're going to take a bath tonight in fluoride water and be pausing some more. And I want you to know something. That's what I'm against, because everybody in that chat room is all colors. I see white people, black people, Asian people in this chat room. And I say, hey, if we can extend this unity when we get out of this chat room and off of this panel and take this unity into our day-to-day lives on the job, when we making the rich people rich, you know, the corporations getting rich, and they got black, whites, and Mexicans stocking the shelves. But when them black, white Mexicans go home, they hate each other. But they unite with the Walmart uniform on. They ain't worried about colors because they all got on a blue vest called Walmart. Now, I say if we can unite here on this panel and have this intelligent discussion with white folks in the chat, black folks in the chat, then we can unite and make shit better for our children and have a bigger discussion other than what happened in history and what's going to happen, and talk about what's going to happen to the future of our children with these controllers if we don't do something about this divide and conquer. Because won't that happen until all of these shades come together and realize the common enemy? Because the enemy have all these shades working together for him like a machine. So if these shades can't work together by choice, then we're going to be ruled over by force. Write that down, put it on a shirt. If we can't work together by choice, we're going to be ruled over by force. But me and Subtle Infinity share that same passion of ending this system. And I just think that it won't happen unless all of these shades who finna leave this show and go to work together do the same thing to work together with this government. If you can do it for Walmart, we can do it against the powers. That's why I don't get when I mention that people say, well, hold up, we got to unite blacks first or unite them first. No, we already united at Walmart, at McDonald's. So let's just extend that unity when we get home and fight against the powers and turn the damn TV off. That's my remedy, but it's more to it than that. But I'm going to let my brother Subtle build on this, man.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the same thing. That's a beautiful thing. At the same time, there's more than that too, because the people who are either half informed, misinformed, or not at all informed are going to fall into that same sort of human unity agenda that gets packaged by people like Oprah, Beyonce, and all those other people. And that's actually the majority of people that are going on right now. And I understand what you're saying is there's only two races that exist, the haves and the have-nots. But I don't necessarily agree is that that's the only thing. Like you said, that's the only thing we need to realize now is that there's only two races and the haves and have-nots. No, I don't think like that. I have it calibrated in my reality a little bit different. It's more complex than that, because we are built up of creative and destructive energies, the light and the dark, the electric and magnetic, and the masculine and the feminine. There's a creative energy that we have in our relationships, in our bodies, in our mind, and in our soul on every level. There's also a destructive tendency and destructive balance to that on the scale of Ma'at that is about focusing on justice, the inner justice and the outer justice of all perspectives of reality. And what I'm saying is that you talked about chemtrails and fluoride, and referenced it to all of us are being sprayed with chemtrails. All of us are being drinking fluoridated water, regardless of whatever race. We are in agreement with that. That is totally understood. What I'm saying is that equal, and if not more important, the chemtrails and the fluoridated water are the psychological chemtrails and the psychological fluoridated water, which is the racist agenda that has been existing for centuries, that still is existing today and is being expanded upon in the mainstream media, on television, and so on and so forth. And as much energy that focuses on chemtrails and fluoride that brings us together, we have to also focus on the psychological chemtrails and fluoride that are stuff like the supremacy agenda, the heliocentric model, the fiat currency system, the maritime admiralty system, the Big Bang theory, everything that separates us from Mother Nature needs to be also simultaneously addressed and not just simplified into just the haves and the have-nots. It's more complex than that, which is why I mentioned those two books, to trigger some go into researching the psychological implications of white supremacy, white privilege, and that I felt was not really addressed. It was mentioned when you spoke with Patricia, but from my perspective, it wasn't really addressed to the core of.
Were you talking about
what was coming from?
You talking about when she asked me oh, I think when she asked me about white supremacy or white privilege.
Yeah. You guys were talking about that. I see you guys mentioned it, but from my perspective, and I'm not the only one who sees it too. I've been contacted by other people who say the same thing. It was mentioned, but the core of it was really missed. And in my opinion, that missing that core and only focusing on that mentioning.
You know what? I'm gonna tell you something about Patricia too. Okay, go ahead, because you mentioned something that's deep, and I want to make sure I touch on it. Go ahead.
If we do not cut to these core issues, we are not only setting ourselves up for failure, we are setting up other people who are believing into the same belief systems, who are following, for example, you on your channel.
No one follows me.
On my channel.
They don't follow us, brother, because you know what? But I'm gonna give you.
Subscribe. I'll use the word subscribe. You know what I meant. I meant not like followers, like like
but see,
some cult or some shit.
I'm gonna give you props because one thing that you do.
Let me finish what I'm saying.
Go ahead.
Off, bro. I'm not finished.
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead, man.
The words are very powerful, and the perspectives are very powerful. And just as much as the perspectives, the power of the perspectives that are powerful are the perspectives that are not being addressed, that are not being expanded upon. And that was an opportunity that I saw that was very missed, in my opinion. And I'll end it on this. This is like my main thing about, as far as with people asking about solutions and all kinds of stuff like that. I don't have the answers. I don't know what it is. I don't know what we could rally around and what we need to do. I don't claim to have all that. All I know is that there's a lot of damn work that needs to be done. There's a lot of information out there that we haven't completely understood, and overstood to the depths of what is going on here. We haven't researched our ancestral teachings, and we also need to hold ourselves accountable for the enslavement program that is expanding itself against us. And that could take years. And flat earth is just, in my opinion, just one of the door that allows us to start asking questions about this. And the thing is that there's two things that I say to myself and that I share in different ways on my channel, is that in reference to the creative and the destructive energies, because they are both equally important, is that in order to create to happen? We have to create an empowered foundation by understanding who and what we are on the deepest level. And this is what I'm seeing a lot of people in the Black conscious community are doing. And they're doing it in their own way. And yes, it might be flawed in many ways. I'm not saying it's perfect at all. But one thing that they are doing, and you reference this in a lot of your videos in the past, is that they are creating this camaraderie. They are creating a lot of connections and researching a lot of very important information that is bringing people together and is empowering people. Now, that being taken with all the flaws, I understand that, but everybody's got flaws that are out there. The second thing is hold ourselves accountable to facing our fears and destroying the systems that are counterproductive to society on every level. The understanding, overstanding, and understanding of reality. That is the psychological, the higher mind, the soul perspective, and the body, which includes this racism agenda that's focusing on genetics. This is why they have genetically modified foods. This is why Dr. Francis Cress Welsing was talking about the fear of white genetic annihilation. That's not a belief. That's an actual fact that exists out there. And until we empower ourselves to both,
and I don't want you to think,
both activate the creative and the destructive potentials that we both have, then that's my main point, is we have to hold ourselves accountable for going into both the creative and the destructive energies of who and what we are. And we have to, instead of just saying, just because I have this great perspective of a creative understanding from her story, that's wonderful. But if we focus all of our energy on the creative perspective of Mother Nature and her story, and do not go to the depths of understanding, understanding, and overstanding the depths of the destructive work that needs to be done on the inside and the outside of each individual and the collective, we will be setting ourselves up for failure, which is what our ancestors did, and a lot of people, which is what the civil rights movement was. It was buying into a limited frame of consciousness. Yes, it was great. It was good.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't great. Anybody tell you during the civil rights movement, a lot of blacks opposed to.
You cut me off. You gotta let me finish.
But brother, you just said you was gonna close on this, and now we in the civil rights. But go ahead, brother.
It's the end of this. It was these two things. It was the creative and destructive intelligence. That's what I'm saying. The destructive intelligence that is used to work against the people uses both positive and negative, creative and destructive energies against us in the way we are indoctrinated, like you said. And stuff like the civil rights movement did help a lot of people see shit needs to change. You can't be hanging people and burning people and doing all that shit. Something needs to change. That's what I said in reference to something better. Overall, from a zoomed out overall perspective, fuck no, it was not at all great, because we completely missed on what needed to be destroyed and what needed to be created, because we got caught up in that shallow perspective.
Now they can go and research.
Did not expand.
Yeah, I want them to go research what happened to blacks. They can get hidden colors and all that, get the civil rights story. I want to, I'm going to have to cut in, brother, because, it's getting, I'm going to show you, man, like, I'll never be able to reach these by the end of the show. You say so much that I'm running out of.
I hate to say it, but I actually have to go here in a few minutes.
Okay, well let's use the time we got it. Until you go, we just gonna keep it going so we don't waste no more time. Now, you said that it's not that. You said it's a bit more complex to you, and to me that's the problem in the black conscious community. The man who can simplify the thing is the winner. We don't, we buy products because they're simple and easy to use, not because they're so complex. And I think the revolutionary spirit of Garvey was because he simplified this thing. It wasn't because he was so complex and intricate with it. It's because he saw a problem that was complex and saw how to make it simple and simplify it on the process of elimination. What I see is haves and have-nots at the end of the day. So only thing I'm saying is it is more simple with me. I can make it complex if I want it, but it's because I got something you don't got, Subtle Infinity. You admitted to not having this. You said you don't have the answer. You don't know what we all should rally up behind. You don't know. I do know. And everybody that follow.
That's where we differ.
See, listen.
Exactly
Hold on now, wait. Now listen. Now let me tell the people what I know. Because when
tell them what you know.
All right, cool. Because when you make a statement like that, you got to tell the people where you're coming from. So what do I mean, people? I have the answer. What should we all rally behind? What's this centerpiece that we need, that we can't produce it? Subtle said he don't know, but I know. And it's simple. I preach it every day. Mother Nature. At the end of the day, you can't tell me what's more important than that. You can't tell me nothing else I need to fight for and risk my life for than the damn water I'm drinking every day. I need control of that. I need control of the food I eat. And I ain't gonna get it by reading history. I ain't gonna get it by having debates. I ain't gonna get it by knowing black history, reading Francis Cress Wilson. If every black person gotta read her book for a revolution come, it'll never come. We gonna have to fight with some people who don't even know how to read. So what's gonna unite us and bring forth a revolution ain't gonna be intellect and complexity. It's gonna be being real and simplicity. That's why Marcus Garvey did it. So my remedy is simple, because I ain't with all the going in circles. Everybody at the bottom that's working together to build this shithole need to stop working together and take their hands and work against the system, no matter what color you are. It's simple. That's all I'm saying. Anybody that disagree with that, to me, they part of the problem. Because the only thing I'm saying is every human being on this earth, no matter your fucking color, and I'm talking to Asian people in Asia, I'm talking to damn Italians in Italy, and the people I'm naming, they come in all colors. It's Asians that's come in colors from white to black. It's Italians that come in shades from snow white to dark black. Every race got whites and blacks in it. Mexicans come in white, black. I'm talking to the have-nots no matter what race or color, because race and color are two different things. You can be of a nationality and be black or white, like I just showed you. So there's so many divisions out there in this world, and the only reason the powers that be can rule is by perpetuating them divisions. The moment we give those divisions none of our thought and focus on how they fucking us all over, that's when we win. That's my simple message. It's a very simple one. I'm not trying to be like no other. Oh yeah, you do gotta. I was gonna say, yeah, you do gotta go. So you go ahead and build, and then you can go ahead and leave, because I know you get the last word, and I'm gonna close them out when you leave.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right. So yeah, we're in agreement with that, in the same sense that in order to deliver and I've said this in previous videos, if you don't understand what's going on, if you can't explain what's going on to a 6-year-old, then you don't really know what's going on. And beyond that, where I'm coming from is the reason why I say I don't know is because I'm on an everlasting expanding journey. I know that there's not, for me, I know that there's not any answers to any one thing. There are things that we could do that can help us move forward and come together and heal and work to addressing this destructive nature and all of these wounds that have happened over again. But at the same time, that's where I'm saying the complexities are. It's including the past, the present, and being aware of how the enslavement program is addressing or trying to expand for the future. That's where I said it's complex, and it's not for everybody to fall into those complexities. It's up to the individuals who are guided to interpret those complexities into a digestible, a simpler understanding. So like you were saying, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, I'm not saying everybody should read Dr. Francis Cress Welsing's book and that's going to heal the world. What I'm saying is that if people were aware of what she was speaking about to the core and what other people that even in the Black conscious community are speaking about to the core. Not to say that everything is right there, but if we were to address the stuff at the core and leave all the excess, then we would find out a lot of information and realize that this storyline is forever growing. And the reason why I don't say there's any answers is because, or I don't have the answer, is because I know if I were to pigeonhole myself into any idea of what's going on, and then that just get co-opted by the system, then what really happens? We set ourselves up for, and we set the people who are, you know, working with us for failure. That's why I said we're everlasting expansion and forever questioning our reality. So we're coming from the same, pretty much the same perspective. We just have a different of opinion on little things here and there. Everything is like pretty much on the same course.
I would agree, my brother, and I think this is a very awesome bill because despite the tension, we came together respectfully and we made it happen because these are sensitive subjects. I see people talk about this stuff subtle and they be about to kill each other at the end of it. So man, you handled it just like giants, bro, and we might not agree on everything, but I look forward to continuing this bill with you.
And one more thing, bro. This is the thing. This is a constructive criticism. You are. I heard in one of the last videos, like you call yourself a coon sometimes, and I know you reference it just to like I don't know what for, but it's something that's really off with that. Like I know what you're saying and how it's like addressing the Black conscious community.
Let me say this too. You're right. I do that because
expand on that. I would not at all do that. You can go so much more beyond that as far as.
Well, listen. Let me tell you something. I never called myself a coon, Subtle Infinity. So I gotta correct you. They called me a coon. And to this day, I get called coon by the Black conscious community. That's what they call. Hey, man, they don't call me Bro Sanchez. They call me coon. And when you get called something so much, I think the best way you can let somebody know it don't affect you is to own the title with a smile. And the comparison I make is the fact that they call blacks niggas. They say they call us nigger to make us mad. But what happened? We call ourselves nigger every day. But if you look it up, it comes from the word nigger, and we got all kind of history behind it. Many people tell you why they call it to take power away from it. So I kind of use the same concept to kind of laugh at it and say that basically,
I see.
Because I didn't create the word coon. They did. I didn't give myself the title. They did. And no matter what,
fuck them, man. Fuck that shit. You Bro Sanchez. Fuck all that word. That's word, because that's word magic. That's why I don't fuck with that. You're Bro Sanchez. No matter what people say to you.
That's real talk, man. And I can feel you on that. I just kind of said to get at them, but you right though. I shouldn't let it get to me.
Give them shit.
I can agree with that. And and that goes what I'm talking about, Subtle. The people that call me coon, they also often say they wish I was dead. But they come from the community I was part of, what you a part of. They got Francis Cress Wilson books. They got Dr. Ben books, but they still want to kill me, and I'm black, Subtle. So I tell you, you mentioned something earlier about us knowing more about who we are and our history to make us better. But I see people with red, black, and green flags who can get on this panel and teach me and you some shit. Man, I'm talking about these guys got every book that the teachers wrote. They knew these teachers, man. I ain't gonna mention their names, but there was an incident where these guys, with all of their knowledge and all of their connections with these black teachers, they still punched this black man in his face and conducted themselves violently. And I can keep naming you several incidents where no matter how much we know about melanin, about the teachings of Francis Cress Wilson, that's not the problem, because it's gonna be black people in. Think about it. I do agree if everybody knew this stuff, like you said, it will help. But it goes back to what I was saying about the non-feasible change. Some people don't care. Man, it's going to be some people who just don't care about melanin. It's going to be some people in Canada that's going to tell you, man, keep that book on your closet. It'll never, knowledge ain't going to be the answer. What it's going to be is a common threat. This is how they rule us. They create a common threat. So they'll say, hey, y'all, a meteor going to crash into Earth in a couple of more years, and it's going to kill all of y'all. Guess what? They know damn well that meteor don't care if you black, white, Asian, or what color you is. They know all of us humans on this damn earth gonna get together, create a budget, and get them our money every day so they can create a bogus space program to keep this meteor from hitting Earth. Now, us flat earthers know meteors don't exist, but I'm using this example to show you how it's common threats that unite people. And when we look at singularity, division, not division, but differences, because we all got different culture, different heritage. We all can get on here and argue about who went through the most in history. You know, I hear it all the time. Well, black people had it the worst. No, well, Indian people had it the worst. And Jews will say, no, well, we had it the worst. And the people at the top say, damn it, we had it the best. They don't argue about who had it the worst. They united because they got it the best. So what I'm saying, Subtle Man, is the dialogue has to change for the earth to change. All of these discussions about particular quote-unquote racial history is the problem. And it's a common threat that's going to unite the masses. When some big happen on earth, like a major cataclysm, nobody is arguing about who came first. Nobody arguing about nobody's history. No matter what color you are, when a tornado come down your street, and I noticed it because I come from Bama, we have tornadoes every year, and that's a racist state. Damn it, these white folks.
Bro, yeah. I gotta go. I gotta end it. I gotta say something real quick, just as like something to research even further. And this goes into what you were just saying. I think you get a lot of flack from, and in reference to this common threat, I think you get a lot of flack from the so-called Black conscious community because there's a very definite threat that the Black conscious community is aware of. That is the New Age community. And if you were to research the New Age community and how that whole octopus, that whole system is getting its tentacles into people, I think you'll see where people are coming from and why there's a lot of flack there. Not to say that it's the only reason why, but it's a very definite thing that exists out there that is very important. And I would stress, please do some research on the New Age. Please do a video on the New Age community threat to humanity. And if you research it and you disagree with me on that, then please come from that perspective. But go to the depths on that shit and please burn that shit down, because I've been spending a lot of time pointing that out. And there's a lot of information in there that really relates to the possible co-opting of the flat earth community from the mainstream perspective. So I gotta leave it there, bro. But I appreciate this build. I appreciate, us, going here, and we'll communicate again soon. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, now the people can hear me. Let me say I appreciate you too, my brother. Man, we got this expound on this, so we'll make this one-on-one between me and you a regular thing, because I think the disagreements that me and you have, everything happened for a reason, my brother. I think nature intended, I think it's meant for us, me and you, to have these disagreements because it sets the dialogue that need to be discussed. Me and subtle infinity represents where the rubber meets the road in the dialogue. Whether we spend the priority based on having all these facts at this point. So this is what this dialogue brings us to the next phase. So appreciate you, my brother. I'm going to expound upon this. I had a bunch of notes that I had wrote down when you was talking. I'm going to briefly go over it with the people. We're going to keep the energy positive. We're going to, I think I'm probably going to talk about this for like a couple more minutes, then open up the panel or something. But
Can I request one thing, bro?
Yeah, sure.
If you're gonna open up the panel, could you cut this one right here so I can upload this, just a video with us talking, and open up another live stream?
Oh, no doubt. You know what? That's a damn good idea, Subtle. That's exactly what I'll do. What I'll do is that's what I'm gonna do. So what I'm gonna do, guys, is I'm gonna end this stream, and I'll be right back. You can refresh the page, and we'll do another one in about maybe 10-15 minutes, and I'm gonna open up the panel. So peace and much love to everybody. Thank you again to my brother Subtle, and be staying tuned for the next part, guys.
Peace, bro, and peace everybody in the chat room. Thank you for all the support and all the subscribers and everything. I love y'all, and we'll talk soon.
Hey, no doubt. Much love to you too, my brother. Hey, thank you everybody for out there for tuning in. Thank y'all for tuning in with me and the brother Subtle. I'm gonna open up, man. I love that brother to death, man. That brother's a real brother. He's passionate about what he's passionate about, and I'm passionate about it as well. But I see something else, and he sees something. So we're gonna all share what we see, because you see some, I see some, he sees some. We bring these pictures together, we can see the full spectrum. Ain't no better way I can put it. Flat power to everyone. Thank you all who was donating. I saw the chat with the donations, but couldn't really shout people out because it was a tense bill. You know, you can't really cut people off in these moments, and you know, it was kind of one of those. So thank you again. Refresh this, because I'm going to start another one, and we're going to continue this dialogue so we can move back on into the flat earth. Flat power. So peace and much love to all of y'all. Refresh the page. We're coming right back.